I personally was maybe looking forward to a year that that might have been a little easier after a decade of massive challenges, but that's just I think that's just the way that the world works. We're probably in the best position we have been in since really, the early 2000s in terms of growth in both domestic market and then also opening up global markets for Australian artists. Definitely a really exciting period, and we just came off the back of Tones and I having the biggest hit on the planet after starting the year being an unknown.
I felt like we were going through a Renaissance period all over again. And it was all kinds of music too. It was, whether it's hip hop or pop or rock, there's so much for everybody. And domestically, I think we were on a bit of an upswing with the amount of artists being signed, the amount of artists being played by Triple J, and the amount of music being consumed.
There was a show you could go to any night of the week that you wanted to go to. You could go, if you only had $10, you could find a great band to see for $10, or you could see an international artist touring Australia as well. The live industry in Australia was thriving.
I would often use stats that would astound people at how musical our city is. One of those is that every weekend, almost 120,000 people would be going to see a live music performance within our municipality, which is more people than going to see a football match in our municipality.
I built, my career on live performance. Cultures, we used to do 8 shows a week before we got signed, So there's something about, trying to get to touch people and to connect with people. It has an urgency and it has a rawness about it.
Because of the plethora of entertainment options that have been available for audiences, you can't go away for a year or two at a time and then come back with your new album like you used to do. Artists used to go through cycles. You would release an album, you'd be very busy around that time. You'd go off on tour, you'd release singles off the album for a year or so. Then the touring would come to an end. The artist would go off and make a record, and there'd be this sort of, the field would lie fallow for a season.
It's been like that for a few years now. The digital's been very hard to predict, and also the flightiness of the fan base, the fact that the roots don't seem to be as deep as they were. That in the era that I came through, you had artists that you were devoted to.
There's so much stuff on streaming. How do you stand out? People move their choruses to the start of songs. People are making songs shorter because people have shorter attention spans. So there's a lot of crossover in writing about music and how people are making music.
Over the years, there was a massive change in the sense that Napster was well ahead of its time. The big labels internationally shut Napster down. They let legology get in front of technology. And if you really think about it, Napster was what Spotify has become, sharing music.
So the whole focus of the industry did become the live side of the business. So which is sort of not, the irony and the tragedy of this whole, crisis is that it's crushing the one thing that was booming.
The things that destroy industries are the torpedoes, the ones you never see coming. And that's exactly what's happened in this industry. A lot of people have straight line thinking, which is reasonable, but there are a lot of truisms at a particular point of time that get proved to be not so true.
There's a whole bunch of memes going around on social media, and there have been for the last 4 weeks while we've been in these kind of, self-isolation environments that, think about while we're all in self-isolation, the things that are really getting you through, because inevitably they will be creative artifacts. Everything from my teacup, which has some hilarious geometric pastel design on it, that existed in someone's sketch pad before it became a teacup, to every episode that you're currently binge, watching on Netflix, to all of the streaming services that you're using to get through your playlists?
Well, the current situation has really thrown so many things up in the air, and we still have to exist within a world of uncertainty.
Venues is another area, obviously, that everyone's very worried about. I don't think people have a really full understanding of the position that the venues are in. It's not just that you can't, put on a gig. It's so much more than that. You don't own the venue most of the time. You're trying to run a business. Your business model's completely fallen over.
Everyone in the music business has learned that lesson, that there's nothing's going to stay the same for very long. Got to keep innovating. Sometimes it's innovation we bring internally. Other times it's forces that come upon you. But as I said earlier, I think we're very resilient, scrappy, smart, innovative business, and we'll continue to find a way forward. And the beautiful thing is that people love music. I've got a 14-month-old son, and I didn't teach him to dance when music came on. It's something innate in human beings.
There's a lot of ways of making a connection through music. Of course, making it, we've all sat with great records that, you play and it takes you to a time, takes you to a point, in your life and all that sort of stuff.
I think you get such a different appreciation of the artist when you actually see them in person. And then the other thing that came through really clearly was people were missing having a collective experience. So, you remember that, remember being in a venue with like 2,000 other people all experiencing the same thing at the same time. That's electric, and it, it's making my heart race just talking about it.
When I think about the gigs that I sat on the couch and thought, nah, can't be bothered going tonight. And now I think if I could go back and go to all those shows, I would 100. I was absolutely taking that for granted. And that's on that micro sort of individual level. I think that, there'll be plenty of people who can identify with that.
And I think once all gigs were cancelled, from that late March period, once lockdown was instituted, it quickly became apparent then that this was not just a blip. This was like nothing we'd seen in our lifetimes.
It's a rapidly moving business, and it's a rapidly moving world that we're living in. So yeah, stopping and pausing is not something that we've ever had to do before. Our prime business is ground to a halt. Our staff is sitting there suddenly with nothing to do, or they have to go home. And it's like that was a defining moment. That day that I thought, okay, well, I better pick up all the things that I need and put them in my bag and take them home, and because I'm not coming back in here for a while.
To see so many people devastated, really for the first week of the COVID virus, I was under the sheets, just not knowing what to do. And then I was very, very lucky that I had the brainwave of music from the home front. It was something that should have taken a month. I really thought we needed to make it happen for Anzac Day night. As we all know, it was an Anzac Day that was so different to any Anzac Day. And when you think about it, the comparison between the Anzacs and the frontline health workers is very similar. These people risk their lives day in, day out. And really, that concert, I've just worked so hard. I had some great people around me. It rated twice as well as anyone would have expected, which is the way TV works. It put Australian music in prime time. It was in the top 5 most special things I've ever done in my life.
We all spoke about this was a battle, and this was, I thought, I think it was a really important fight, but trying to draw that long bow to say it was comparable to Anzac Day was a big one, because, you know, like we weren't in the trenches, we weren't being shot at, we weren't, you know, fighting for our country, but we were fighting for something else. It was definitely a fight for something else. I think it was symbolically, it was a good thing that we were trying to pull not only our industry but the public together and just let everybody know to lean on each other.
We can't lose sight of that in coronavirus, where we have been very focused on that physical well-being as a priority, and I'm signed up for that. Many other consequences where we've visited fragility, and I know that I've had many moments of emotion during this, whether it's something I've felt or it's me responding to others.
But what's been even more important during that crisis is just how well the music sector and its leadership has responded to keeping people together, to making sure that in such pretty grim circumstances, some work has been available, and even more importantly, advocating for a bigger, stronger comeback.
Trying to get the best possible information from our industry to government, from government to our industry, from me personally as a leader back to my stakeholders, to my staff. And it almost, just went into it and then came out a little bit later, and took a while to take a deep breath and realise, geez, we're all working from home and the world's changed dramatically in 4 weeks.
I think the music industry's always been inhabited by self-starters. People who are involved in the music industry tend to always recognise that you can't take anything for granted. If you've got a creative itch and you need to get out there and promote it, you've got to create your own opportunities.
I was actually astounded by how many of my friends were so quick to come up with a great idea, and they were great ideas. I was like, you're amazing. Like, boom, you get, hit by something over here and you're like, it's fine, I'll fix it over here. I think artists and musicians are amazing like that, And I'm amazed at the people who do such good quality streaming from their lounge rooms. Like, it's made me really appreciate the level of musicianship that's in Australia for a start, because to sound that good with none of your gear is so impressive.
Musicians are always the first people to kind of band together and work together and, do charity concerts and work hard and kind of, we're all reasonably nice people with each other, we work well. We play nice most of the time.
So many moments of gold and decency and shared humanity throughout this crisis that when we look back in time, they will be the things that stand out. The work of our frontline health workers, the way in which caring professions have finally been recognised as really important to holding our society together.
The way that our industry is so interconnected that, you've got festivals that can help, underpin a tour in some ways, or that you're working towards that can, open up artists to a whole new audience and certainly to, return higher fees than what they might get just playing a one-off show. Like, there's all these things, but these things require then that festival still exists and those venues still exist and that audience is still there and confident to go and do things. And there's, I think that's where it starts to be looking ahead and thinking, how long can all these people hold on? How long can this sort of, I guess, the infrastructure that has been built stay in place so that when the doors are reopened, everything's there to kind of go back to.
Everybody's problem is the fact that we don't really know how it's going to roll out. So like my personal speculation on it is that, it'll be a while before we can have, many people in a theatre together or many people at a festival together. But, maybe gradually what will happen is, say we'll go into a 1,000 capacity venue to play a gig. We won't be able to play to 1,000 people. Maybe they'll only be able to sell 500 tickets, say, or 300 tickets or whatever it is, right? So that there's still some element of social distancing. Well, I mean, that's a kind of okay baby step towards getting to where we need to go back to normal again. But the issue with that is the economy of it.
You're asking people to be sensible in places that they deliberately go to not be sensible in. You know, no one goes to a nightclub, no one goes to a bar, no one goes to a live music venue to be sensible.
In the first instance, I mean, I've been reading some books about the Great Depression, just for the fun of it. But you know, all the lessons you take out of looking at past crises is that there is definitely a filtering process that happens. You know, people who were already in very marginal businesses or who were already feeling ambivalent about being in the business are the first to get shaken out.
So it's not even just the musicians and the management company, it's families involved, attached to all of this, you know? So it's like, what are you going to do? You know, who's going to take that first leap? You know what I mean? Again, if it's a club environment, the band takes that first leap and it goes horribly wrong. How are they going to get over that? See, you're not going to come back from it. You know, that could be the end of your career.
We realised, of course, that for the next 6 months minimum, there won't be any. And there is a specific live performance royalty scheme, which is fairly straightforward. You report the number of shows you do, the venues you play in, you report your standard set list and you get paid. We realised that that wasn't going to happen. So we put in place a replication of the previous 12 months live performance returns. For all of the reports that we had for the previous year, we've used exactly those set lists to pay the same writers and to pay them a royalty that was consistent with what they earned last year. And that fund for Australia is $6 million. And for New Zealand, it's 650,000 New Zealand dollars, which immediately, and that will be paid out in May, as in now. So that money will go directly to all of those performing artists. And most of them will be the artists that would have been performing this year as well. You know, the Rubens have got a tour plan, for instance, that's been put back, and it may occur in October or November. Now, if those performances actually do occur, then they can report those performances and they will come into next year's distribution.
I've had 4 or 5 Aussie #1 albums in the last, I think it's either 4 of the last 5 weeks or 5 of the last 6 weeks. Fans pivoting to start buying direct from artist websites, and so still getting the physical albums, but you know, really driving through their fans and their fan clubs. I've enjoyed that, and that's been a nice story throughout all of this. How fans have got around their bands. There's been some fantastic concerts online. I thought the music from the home front was a wonderful moment. You know, I loved seeing Aussie talent come together and put on great music for Australia.
I hope that out of isolation, from this isolation, we all start thinking out of the box a bit more.
We adapt. We've got a huge capacity to adapt. Our brains are wired for creativity.
I think the key to this shit situation has just been to keep on working, keep working through it, and keep everybody's spirits up.
I think for Support Act, that's kind of what we do. It's brought us together. I think people will be proud of being a part of the Australian music industry.
Kids will play a more active role now. They will come to the fore. It's their time.
Certainly for some people, I think they'll remember who helped them get through the rough times and be more inclined to act in a similar way themselves.
I'd love to see the government, you know, recognise the contribution of music and art to our society.
I think there's going to be some really telling, beautiful, sad stories, but some really great songwriting and content coming out after this as well.
Music is part of the human condition, so that will always be the case. We've just got to work out the best way to get it to the people and hopefully get them engaged and loving Aussie artists.
They'll want to go to the pub and have a beer and hear someone play the guitar and sing and sit with other people and enjoy that.
Yeah, I just really want to see people happy and healthy and being able to to create and find an audience, and I think that's probably what everybody wants.
When we get back to some sort of normality, people want to go out and have fun, go to bars, watch shows.
This is an opportunity to reimagine it and learn from the unprecedented challenges that we've had to build it for the 21st century in ways that even 12 months ago no one would have imagined.
We've got to get better at our storytelling, because that really feeds in, you know, we've got to be aware of the history that can make our present and our future stronger.
A renewed sense of the importance it plays in our life, both spiritually and economically.
It'd be nice for TV shows and movies to start, you know, production again, so that music can be used in them.
This industry, through this adversity, there's going to be all this opportunity for a whole new tier of acts that are trying to knock on a door right now.
I would wish that there are great lyricists. The great songs stand miles above, you know, any other music, really. And that's the thing you never forget. Those phrases from the great songs you'll never forget.
That the Australian public and the public internationally recognise that their lives aren't complete without the things that we make for them.
When the house lights go down, the band walks out and the audience all yells, you've got kids, you've got parents, you've got people with medical, financial problems, you've got the elitists, you've got everybody there, but they're all feeling the same thing, and they become one. And that's what it does.